Let us continue our celebrating tonight by having a word of prayer. Let us pray. Oh God, it's hard to believe that we are really here, that the busy times of preparation are over, and this night has come. The tears in our eyes must be reflecting the deep sense of happiness we feel in our souls. We thank you, God, for the days and the experiences that have led us to this night. We thank you for the people on this stage, for the people in the audience, and for the school that brings us together. Thank you for this night when dreams come true. May it capture all the memories of days of waiting in the lily pond and swinging on the banyan tree, to the days of seminar papers and Fooey's Follies. Bless our remembering and our celebrating, and grant us some way of sharing what we feel. Help us to hold tightly to the mystery of tonight, sensing its meaning and significance. And when tomorrow comes, help us to let this night go, that we may meet the future with the same freshness, the same enthusiasm, and the same dedication. Amen.
As children of Hawaii, each of us has had an added dimension to our lives, set apart from our Punahou experience or family life: the ocean. Although we seldom realize it, the ocean has influenced us, whether it was for surfing, taking samples for a marine biology class, or providing a quiet spot for reflection. Aside from these direct experiences, perhaps it has been the indirect influence from which we have benefited most. In her book, Gift from the Sea, Anne Moreau Lindbergh writes, "One should lie empty, open, choiceless as a beach, waiting for a gift from the sea." When we entered Punahou for the first time, we were as that beach, empty, open, choiceless. But tonight, we must acknowledge the gifts that Punahou has bestowed on us, symbolic gifts from the sea. Perhaps the most difficult experience we have encountered with the ocean is simply entering it. Our body tingles with anticipation and fear as first we stick our big toe in the sea, and then slowly but surely our entire body. We grow accustomed to the water and we begin to test our new environment. Some may plunge into the crashing waves, while others are contented to float idly on the surface. We can become free and relaxed, or challenged and energized. Either way, we leave reluctantly its cool depths for the sandy shore. How difficult it was when we first stuck our toe in the Sea of Punahou. It seemed so unfamiliar, but as our body immersed, our spirit began to soar. This new environment became our testing ground, where we could measure our strengths as well as our limitations. For some, it became a challenging environment. For others, a passive one. Yet tonight, all of us reluctantly leave the Punahou Sea for the shore of the future. Day by day, the tides ebb and flow. The surf churns up the sand and debris, and the waves pound against the rocks. Yet beneath the tumultuous surface, the sea community remains calm and undisturbed. In our years together at Punahou, as a class or as individuals, we have experienced change, both in tidal wave and ripple proportions. Yet we have remained strong individuals united as a class. Although waves may make changes, the ocean is also a place of renewal. We have maintained the calm area beneath the surface, and that part of us which has changed has been reborn and renewed, adding a glassy patina to the sea within. For many, a day at the beach represents an opportunity for long walks along the shoreline in search of the perfect shell. At Punahou, we have often searched for a perfect shell in our schoolwork, extracurricular activities, or future goals. Perfection, however, is not easily attained, and we find it difficult to accept a clamshell in the place of a pearl. Both at the beach and at Punahou, we have learned that when our perfect shell is crushed by the disappointment of a brutal wave of reality, precious fragments remain to be treasured. Anne Moreau Lindbergh concludes her book, "There are other beaches to explore. There are more shells to find. This is only a beginning." When we leave here tonight, we will be leaving the Punahou beach where we have become comfortable and safe. Ahead will be new coastal territories as we go off to college, to work, or to travel. Although uncharted and unknown, these are the waters we need to explore. Some of us may need to exchange our snorkel gear for a parka, but new discoveries will be our reward. Ahead we will find more shells and pearls of knowledge. We will carry with us into these new oceans the fond memories and experiences from our Punahou beaches. There are more shells to find. There are more beaches to explore. Tonight is only a beginning.
The class of 1981 is fortunate to possess so many musically talented students that for the first time in many years, the seniors will not present the previously published song. Both the class song and the theme song have been written by class members. It is with great pride in the uniqueness of this accomplishment that I introduce to you our class song, Before and After. Written by Val Cabral and Nani Peters and arranged by Gary Hyle, Before and After expresses the deep closeness and the bittersweet emotions that have bonded and will eternally bond the 422 members of the class of 1981.
Good evening, parents, faculty, and friends. First of all, we'd like to thank you for coming tonight and being with us to share in this very special occasion. One afternoon, while talking with my father, he told me a saying that he as a young boy grew up with. Written by Alan Chalmers, he says simply that a fulfilled life is something to do, someone to love, and something to hope for. In these past 4 years at Punahou, I have come to understand Mr. Chalmers' advice. Punahou has not only provided that something to do, it has given us an opportunity to pursue almost anything, from glass blowing to physics, a full spectrum of activities, music, dance, academics, and sports, to mention a few, have always been available, and something to do has never been a problem. Mr. Chalmers' second piece of advice, someone to love, has been provided by our parents and reinforced by our years at Punahou. You, parents, have given your time, energy, concern, and understanding. You have provided the tools and foundation that ensures a relationship of love. The faculty, in their teaching and knowledge, has also shared a love. Their interest in our education and future is evident in their dedication. And not forgetting the behind-the-scenes people who, in their love for our school, have shown us a deeper appreciation and awareness also. Mutual experiences have also allowed us to share in various friendships. The friends, the buddies, the pals, the special people that have been there in our time of need. The friend to laugh and cry with, someone to share in those things to do. And now, as we look ahead, there's excitement and anticipation. The something to hope for has now become a reality. And so, whatever direction each of us may take, our hopes and our dreams are still vital in providing that willingness and motivation to seek out and experience new things. With these new experiences and challenges comes a deeper awareness of the need to do and the need to love. And in turn, these maturing needs give us new insights and hopes, a constantly reinforced circle that will probably take us right back to this very occasion and the graduation of our children, a simple progression that we are now all aware of. We have learned from all of you here, our Punahou family, our parents, and our friends. And we thank you for the opportunity to do, to love, and to have so much to hope for.
We will now sing for you a medley of 2 Hawaiian songs, Pua Olena, written by John K. Kaholokula, and Sweet Memory, written by Cyril Pahinui and Brian Hussey, and directed by Steve Masaki. The first song extols the beauty of the Olena plant. The rare Olena is used for spiritual and medicinal purposes. It holds the power to soothe the spirit. The second celebrates our sweet memory of our friendships, the good times we have shared, and the happiness of this occasion, our graduation.
begin with, I'd like to go over some of the things you, the graduating class of 1981, has given to me, to each other, and to Punahou. To me, I feel that you've given much support. You've supported me, and by doing so, you've allowed me to make decisions which directly relate to you and feel okay about them because I know you'll be behind me. And that's been very important for me. I think to each other, we've given something very new, acceptance. We've begun to accept each other for what we are. We haven't tried to change people so much this year. I feel that we've accepted people and their differences and their personal choices. And I feel that that's been a big growing experience for all of us, and I'm glad that we've all done so. I also think we've made our own support system because we're all going through the same emotions in terms of graduation and what we're going to do afterwards, whether it be working or traveling or going to school. We've created a certain understanding among ourselves that we can't explain to anybody else. And that's been a big support system, and we've helped a lot of people through ourselves. And I think that's been good too. And lastly, I think to Punahou, we've given a sort of recycled energy. By this I mean we've taken the energy and the teaching and the genuine interest that our teachers have given to us, whether it be 13 years ago or last year or last semester, and we've taken it and worked it through and separated the information that we want to keep for ourselves and make our own information. And we've thrown away what we choose not to use. And by doing so, we've created from our teachers and from our friends and faculty ourselves. We've created our own creative expression and given that back to Punahou. And I think that that's good too. Also, we've created a source of pride for the faculty and for our dean, Mr. Pennington, and I think that we should be proud of ourselves also for what we've accomplished in this short amount of time. When I began my campaign for senior class president, I chose the theme of unity to rally behind, and I soon discovered that the class thought it was a good and a necessary element to add to our final year at Punahou. In the past 4 weeks, there has been more pulling together and more genuine interest in working for a united goal than I have ever experienced from our class. Although there has always been a good sense of class spirit and avid participation, the past month has only magnified our already strong identity. I feel unity in working for a common goal is important, not only to enhance the experience of our senior year, but also to add to our upcoming and future lives. We have learned how to direct our energies towards a common end, whether it be the variety show, baccalaureate, or here tonight at graduation. And every person, no matter how small or large, has made a contribution to our common cause. This valuable skill of productive, unified energy can only be gained through experience, which we have earned, and can only be improved more by more experience, which we are about to face in our upcoming lives. We have also learned compromise. This has been a big thing for us this year. We've learned how to compromise. A perfect example of this is the dilemma of puffed or straight. Those of you who are not familiar with this problem, it has to do with the girls' holokus. We couldn't decide if the sleeves would be straight sleeves or puff sleeves. And after lots of talking and lots of voting and re-voting and discussion, we finally decided on straight sleeves, which we all have on tonight. There was one compromise suggestion though, and that was to have one sleeve puffed and one sleeve straight. We decided that sticking with straight would probably be the best idea. Now we're at the end of our year of learning together, and I would like to leave you with a goal, a new goal. It's a goal of self-unity, one that deals with personal strength that can't be destroyed by others or by life situations. A goal, if you choose to make it yours, that could help you get back on your feet again when you fall and there's nobody there to pick you up. I've chosen a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, who you know struggled for decades with President Roosevelt's affair. This quote illustrates how she unified her energy and directed her own personal energy. The quote also serves as a good example for those of you who decide to make it yours. Quote, "Somewhere along the line of development, we discover what we really are, and then we make our real decisions for which we are responsible. Make these decisions primarily for yourself, for you can never live anyone else's life. The influence you exert is through your own life and what you become yourself." Thank you very much.
The Punahou class of 1981 will now sing "Look to the Sky," composed by Kevin Kimata, with lyrics by Paul Rust, Kevin Kimata, Millard Wong, and Carla Yee. The song was arranged by Gary Heidel. Our theme song describes our fears and uncertainties as we leave the security of Punahou, but more importantly, it expresses our hope and optimism for the future.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure this evening to welcome many individuals responsible for this symbolic event. A Punahou graduation is special because the seniors, in large part, graduate themselves with their speeches and with the songs they write and sing. It's appropriate that after years of progressively accepting more responsibility for themselves, that this evening should be theirs, that the spotlight should be on them. Although we pay special attention and honor to these students, however, our thanks and acknowledgement go out as well to the parents who have cried the sorrows and danced the joys of their children. And we recognize this evening the trustees, a record number of whom are parents of seniors graduating this evening. We thank them for the inspiring leadership that they have provided, especially during the time that this class has been in the academy. Many members of this class have attended Punahou since kindergarten. Incidentally, Dr. McPhee has also attended Punahou for 13 years, and the class of 1981 is thus his first total kindergarten through 12 graduating class. The bonds which tie the academy students to the junior school are strong. Many of the graduates-to-be began Punahou in the early grades. Through such courses as leadership training, early childhood education, and Camp Timberline, our students interact frequently and positively with junior school students. To allow these seniors to express their aloha for the many fond memories they have, I ask my colleague and fellow principal, Dwayne Yee, to rise and be recognized on behalf of the junior school. It's right out here. Now, while this class is, in a sense, Dr. McPhee's first graduating class, it is the last graduating class for a man the Punahou community has come to admire and to love. I'd like to give the parents in the audience, as well as the seniors, one last chance to applaud a master teacher and a wonderful person, Peter Powlison. This class has created a record of which it can be proud. The receipts of the 1980 Carnival will not soon be surpassed, even given the current rate of inflation. 48 seniors were National Merit semifinalists and 9 became finalists. The senior men and women led athletic teams to 65% of the ILH championships. 8 out of 16 for the men and 7 out of 11 for the women. Men and women together won 10 out of the 22 possible state championships. In athletics, almost 50% of those possible, despite the fact that less than 4% of the students in this state go to Punahou. We will remember the excitement these teams provided. Women's basketball was exciting all year long, and the women's track team finals were especially inspiring. The men's final games in the basketball championships were heroic, and the determined return of the men's volleyball team from the losers bracket to the state championship was absolutely amazing. The men's swimming team has won 24 consecutive state championships, which is a continuing national record. And you need to remember that we won 2 basketball championships, the men's and the women's, without a gym, and we won 2 swimming championships, men's and women's, and the water polo championship without a pool. So that's an even more phenomenal record. This class was also outstanding in other activities, including the state championship quiz bowl team and debate team. They produced an outstanding variety show and art show. In short, their record speaks more eloquently of their achievement than do our words this evening. Every class has a certain personality, which develops over time. I have chosen the absurd task of selecting one adjective which summarizes the personality, the fingerprint, so to speak, of each graduating class. And Shannon, I want to use an adjective from your speech but the adjective puffed seemed to have too many connotations of selfishness. On the other hand, this class couldn't be described as straight either. Very seriously, this year has been the smoothest and most pleasant that we've experienced in 12 years. And I think it's due in large part to your attitude and your efforts and your caring. And caring is the adjective that I have selected for you. Caring means to feel interest or concern, as in caring about one's community or country. Unlike the apathy that I experienced in the 1950s, you have demonstrated again and again your concern for others. But caring also means having a fondness for. This year, 10,000 mahalograms were exchanged in the Academy on Gratitude Day. There were days in the 1960s when I'm not sure that 100 mahalograms would have been exchanged, and I'm not sure what they would have said if they had been sent. Those expressions of gratitude you sent are a measure of the fondness you have for other people. I think they also represent the caring concern that you have for your community and the acceptance that Shannon spoke about. So perhaps you are beginning a new era, a new wave, replacing the eras of apathy and confrontation and narcissism which some say preceded you. I hope you do represent a new wave. But as Sarah Craven implied, waves come in, crash upon the shore, and then they disappear. This is the last time your wave will exist together. You can't go home again, and after tonight you will exist only in our memories and in your own memories. This then is our last mahalogram to you. We thank you for your gifts of caring concern and of inner calmness and acceptance. Dr. McPhee, on behalf of the faculty and with pride and confidence, I present for their diplomas the caring class of 1981.
Mr. Healy, Dean Pennington, members of the Board of Trustees, parents, friends, and soon-to-be graduates. I'm going to turn this and face you because it's really you to whom I'm speaking this evening, and my apologies. This is probably my best side anyway. But let me begin by extending to each of you my congratulations, for you have almost made it. I'm very aware that the only thing between you and a diploma now is the length of my speech, and I promise it will be short. When I came to rehearsal this morning, I had a 54-minute one, and I watched you and decided I'd cut it down a little. Your speakers have represented you eloquently at baccalaureate and again this evening, and I know I speak for all of us here when I express our thanks to you for the magnificent music with which you have gifted us. I want to thank Gary Heidel for his choral direction, and also Ed Springer. I'd like to thank Ed Springer and the orchestra for the music which they have given us this evening. This caring class of 1981 is the largest class in the 140-year history of Punahou, with 422 members, and it is truly representative of the very best of Punahou's traditions. 91 of you have parents who attended Punahou, 77 of you arrived at Punahou, as did I, 13 years ago. And you have one member who enjoyed the school so much that he's been here 14 years. The baccalaureate dialogue by Tracy and Ricky, which they set at your 20th reunion in the year 2001, demonstrated your capacity for caring for each other. Your Oahuan further demonstrates your capacity for caring in the exceedingly large number of you who used a portion of your senior space to thank your parents, your families, and your friends for their role in getting you to this stage tonight. In fact, I think this is a very appropriate time for you to join me in paying tribute to the people who truly made it possible for you to be here tonight, and for you to applaud your parents for what they have given you. I think I would add another adjective to caring. Spontaneous might be a good term for this class. In the 13 years since you entered kindergarten, some at Punahou and some elsewhere, much has changed and much has remained the same, both in the outer world and at Punahou. Most of you were born in 1963, the year in which President Kennedy was assassinated. As historians have noted, nearly half of the nations in the world today did not exist 18 years ago. William Manchester, in his book The Glory and the Dream, which is a narrative history of America from 1932 to 1972, has called that year in which you entered kindergarten, 1968, the year everything went wrong. Obviously, some things went right, or you and I wouldn't be here tonight. But in 1968, Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy were killed. Columbia University, that year in which you entered kindergarten, 1968, the year everything went wrong. Obviously, some things went right, or you and I wouldn't be here tonight. But in 1968, Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy were killed. Columbia University was taken over by students. The Hong Kong flu hit America. First-class postage went from 5 cents to 6 cents. Lyndon Johnson announced he would not run for re-election, and Richard Nixon and Spiro Agnew were elected president and vice president. Maybe Manchester was right. On the brighter side, in 1968 at Punahou, I had just succeeded Dr. John Fox. We had 3 kindergartens. Today we have 5. Our kindergarten teachers then were Mrs. Ane, Mrs. Bendix, and Mrs. Wessinger, all of whom are still teaching kindergarten, or still teaching, 2 in kindergarten. Mr. Pennington was just beginning his deanship with his first class, the class of 1972. Mr. Yee was the supervisor in Castle Hall, and Mr. Healy was assistant principal. There are 7 buildings and a new pool on the campus that were not here when you and I arrived 13 years ago, and you have been absolutely great about putting up with the construction inconveniences during your time on campus. You have handled these changes with grace and with goodwill. I am delighted that we were able to put Mr. Powlison as the first person and the class of 1981 as the first group into the new pool, and of course Mr. Pennington was the first dean to be thrown into the new pool. As a class, you have been first in many things. Your carnival record, as Mr. Healy mentioned, may never be equaled or surpassed, and certainly your consumption of 30 gallons of ice cream at our home 3 weeks ago was an all-time record, exceeding by 5 gallons the previous record. You had advanced to the first grade by the time Neil Armstrong stepped upon the moon, and I suspect that you take things like the space shuttle somewhat for granted. For you, of course, this probably doesn't seem miraculous. After all, you've grown up not knowing what life was like without digital watches, handheld calculators, Apple computers, or Monday Night Football. You've also grown up in a world increasingly accustomed to mindless acts of terrorism, with the recent attacks on President Reagan and Pope John Paul treated as events which somehow were not unexpected. It is increasingly clear that in the world we are more adept at dealing with technological problems than with people problems. Certainly this isn't anything we can lay to you yet, for you haven't been in charge, but I do hope your generation, with your capacity for caring, can help. I'd like to suggest the words of the poet Lillian Smith, who writes the following: "This is the sin of you and me and all of us, to have more power than love, more knowledge than understanding, more information about this earth than of the people who live upon it, more skill to fly to far-off places than to stop and look within the secret spots of our own hearts. For freedom is a dreadful word unless it goes hand in hand with responsibility, and democracy may yet become a specter on this earth unless the hearts of men are mature." I hope that your generation can prove Lillian wrong. One function of a graduation ceremony is to serve as a rite of passage between adolescence and adulthood. And one aspect of that rite of passage, in essence, requires that I pass on a little advice and counsel. I realize full well that it is a little late for any advice and counsel that's going to make much difference from Punahou, but I am going to put forth two suggestions for you to consider. First, I propose that you continue your demonstrated capacity for caring, not only throughout your life, but strangely enough perhaps, most particularly in the next few weeks and months. Tonight, we are focusing on your transition, but I think we need to be aware that this evening also represents a significant event for your parents. Your graduation signals important changes in your parents' lives as well as yours, whether you are an only child, or the first one to graduate, or the last one to graduate, or simply one in a long line that makes this a very routine occurrence. I think all of us would do well to recall the lines from Khalil Gibran's book, The Prophet, when he writes, "And a woman who held a babe against her bosom said, 'Speak to us of children.' And he said, 'Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you, for life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday.'" I would remind you, members of the class of '81, that occasionally parents forget that the goal of being a parent is planned obsolescence. In any case, give your folks an extra pat on the head in the next few weeks, as they're probably going to need it, even more than you will. My second bit of advice is simply to remind you that no matter how bad the day is, the sun will come up from the east each morning, and as it does, you will have a chance to start over at whatever you are striving toward. Despite occasional setbacks and the inevitable problems which you will face, each day provides an opportunity to begin again. I suggest that if you bear in mind Mr. Pollison's advice from his eloquent baccalaureate address, and you ask, seek, and knock for help, you will find what you need, and each rising sun will provide an opportunity for you to do that. I have certainly enjoyed our 13 years together at Punahou, for those of you who have been here that long, and the shorter period that some of you have been here. And as you prepare to leave, I'd like to extend to you some hopes and some wishes as a class and as individuals for you for the rest of your lives. I wish you the independence you seek and the sense of community which has so characterized the class of 1981. I wish you the excitement and strength of the pounding surf and the tranquility of the sea beneath the surface. I wish you good health and an occasional headache so you recall how truly nice it is to feel good. I wish you luck in searching for the perfect shell and good fortune in finding new beaches to explore. I wish you old friends and new to share your pleasures, to rejoice with you in your triumphs, and to stand with you when life knocks you down. I wish you good fortune in dealing with life's problems, many of which are exactly like your puffed or straight controversy, and occasional carnivals, ice cream socials, or skip days to allow you to relax and fully enjoy yourselves. And finally, I join with Luana to wish for you something to do, someone to love, and something to hope for. And now let me extend my personal congratulations to each of you for having taken this important stride along the road of joining the company of educated men and women. In a few minutes, you will be alumni of Punahou School. You have brought much honor to Punahou, and we know that you will bring credit to Punahou, to yourselves, and to your family as you continue in your future endeavors. You will take with you our very best wishes. At this time, by virtue of the power invested in me by the trustees of Punahou School, I am delighted to invite Dean Pennington, Principal Healy, and Assistant Principal Moss to assist me in presenting the diplomas to the class of 1981. Mahalo, farewell, and Godspeed.